Good morning, my dear living children, and those who are listening to me. Today I am with you after a gap of almost 3 months or so. But it was my inquisitiveness and a great sense of anxiety which really impelled me to come again. There are so many tumultuous situations which are, you know, it gives me so much of pain when the date 25th December comes into mind. It really gives me kind of feeling that okay, let us come back and let us try to recapitulate what are the fallacies and the ironies which our forefathers committed, and those were not communicated to us at different stages, at different periods of life. A lot of things happen, but those were never to be communicated to their posterities. Why? This is a normal question. This is a natural question which anybody can ask. But no answer comes. Then it becomes very suspicious. It looks very, you know, ironical. Why? After all, why our historians were scared to depict the real story of the happenings in the pages of history? It looks it looks so, you know, painful to describe how tumultuous situations they underwent. They suffered, but still we were not privy to any of the informations which they have undergone to. Now, there are so many perspectives which are very, very, just like a burning things, burning issues in our heart. In the last episode, I was quite vocal that the current perspective, the real picture of the historical narrations, where they were kept away from the posterities of India. As I told you, that if the correct version of history and the happenings in the history were communicated to the descendants or to the inhabitants of India, then I think the economic, political, and societal development of the country would have been much better than what it is now. As you must be aware, that we are suffering from a syndrome that is called Kashmir syndrome. Recently, we have maybe a year or so, 5th August probably, when Article 370 and 35A was abrogated from our constitution. The very proviso of it was expunged away. The very provisions which were restrictive in nature, that has been revoked, and a kind of semblance with the people, whole countrymen, it has been created in Kashmir also. You must be aware that there was a Raja Hari Singh. He was like any princely state, he was also a prince. He was a ruler of Jammu and Kashmir unified state. Soon after, we all, every day, every year on 15th August we celebrate Independence Day. But that is a fallacy. That is not Independence Day. That is merely transfer of power day. Because our political masters, they had already hobnobbed with the outgoing Britishers that we shall transfer power to you. In lieu of it, there would be lots of give and take. And consequence to that, it was the creation of Pakistan. It was just, quid pro quo kind of arrangement which led to the term called independence of India. It was not independence of India. It was merely transfer of power. Some political vested interests, they were bequeathed with the power. That is political power. It was sort of dominion, sovereignty, which was handed over to a section of the population. In true sense of the term, it was not independence. So, before, uh, in some of the perspective, if we go that princely estates, before independence could be meted out to India, Raja Hari Singh was the, as it is said, Raja Hari Singh, he was Raja of Jammu and Kashmir. So he had arrested the then leader of Jammu and Kashmir, one section of a population, that was Sheikh Abdullah, father of um, Mr. Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah, and grandfather of what is that, Junior Abdullah. He was house arrested. You know why? He had unilaterally declared quit Kashmir. He had declared quit Kashmir. So it was so ridiculous. Mahatma Gandhi propounded, "Arey, we have announced quit India for the Britishers." It was in 1942. Because they are the Britishers and they were subjugating our political freedom. So how you are saying quit Kashmir? He is a Raja, he is a prince here. How can he quit? He is the original inhabitant of Kashmir. So because of this tyranny, under the charge of uh, sedition against the nation or against the state, he put in the house arrest. In order to help Sheikh Abdullah, Jawaharlal Nehru also went to Kashmir to help Sheikh Abdullah. Consequently, he was also arrested and put under house arrest. He was there under house arrest for quite some time, maybe a few days. And ever since that period, Jawaharlal Nehru had built a grudge that I will take revenge one day. So soon after the transfer of power, it was Jawaharlal Nehru who became Prime Minister of India. You must be aware that entire country, the unification of all the princely states was in the hands of Sardar Patel, barring Jammu and Kashmir, because Mr. Nehru had built a grudge since he was put in the house arrest on the pretext of helping Sheikh Abdullah. So he had developed a grudge against the Raja of Kashmir. So he decided one day or the other, I will show you the real consequences of you putting me under house arrest. And that is the story of bad days for Kashmir. Now you can imagine that all the princely estates were left in the hands of Sardar Patel for unification of India, barring Jammu and Kashmir. And consequently, there is no need to describe in detail what happened to Jammu and Kashmir. Till date, lakhs and lakhs of people have died. They have martyred their life for protection of territory of India. But we still have a bloody nose in Jammu and Kashmir. It was the fallacy, it was the bad planning and irrational attitude of Pandit Nehru which showed this day. Now, this is one perspective. But have you ever heard in some of the textbook this narration? We were never told this side of the story. It was only after 2014 when the total climate of and different perspective of understanding historical arena changed. Only then we could start studying it bits and pieces, and lots of scholars they came forth and they started telling the truth. Otherwise, what was the fate of the people that was known to everyone? What happened? during emergency era. It was a very horrifying period. So, my dear children, if political masters, those who say that we are responsible for making your country independent, they had certain preconceived or malified intentions under the garb of independence of the nation, which in fact was merely transfer of power, then how can historical perspective be written in a right manner? It is said that after independence, history was given in the hands of pseudo leftist writers, notably persons like Irfan Habib, Romila Thapa. They distorted, contorted historical narrations in a manner which was to simply appease few minuscule minority of the population and which was far away from the reality. My dear loving children, very soon we are going to get 25th December. This 25th December reminds of the period when barely 400 years back the entire family of the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. I also take a great pride in naming the sacred name of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj because he was born in Patna. He was a Bihari origin, the 10th Guru of Sikh Panth. He was the one who laid the foundation of Khalsa. Khalsa means sacred. But this was the period right from 22nd December to 27th December. His both sons were killed. But in history, no one has ever taken the pain to write even a single sentence. What was the contribution of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj? How shameful it looks. This is the same period that if we go into the perspective of Goa, Francis Xavier, that plunderer, that looter, that murderer, he had rained enormous atrocities on Hindus, especially Hindu women. Still, how ignorant we Indians are that we are running scores of schools and colleges in the name of Saint Xavier. He the same Francis Xavier, a man with a bloody nose, bloody intentions of religious proselytization and none other religion than Hindus. So my dear children, you just try to wake up, open your eyes, delve deep into the historical archive sources and try to find what are our real perspective in history. Try to understand and study. That shall bring back to the basis of historical thinking, true basis of historical thinking. That shall alone enlighten not only the current generation but the posterities who are going to follow us shall build a great India only when right perspective of historical narrations are taught to them. Thank you very much.